Hello, I'm Jerry Van Dyke. Please make a donation to the Carnegie Council's annual fund. It will directly support programs such as the video you're about to watch. These are very challenging times. Please keep the voices for ethics alive. Go to carnegiecouncil.org and click on the button marked support. Thank you.
At the moment, both in Afghanistan and in Washington, the consensus is in favor of President Obama's policy in Afghanistan. And I'm sure you're all much too grand to read Newsweek, but were you to read Newsweek, you would discover this week the president being celebrated for his coldly rational approach to the problem in Afghanistan. And the question I suppose on my mind is, what would it take to shake this consensus? What could one possibly do to convince Ambassador Holbrooke or General Petraeus, or indeed the president himself, that they were wrong? Because it's an immensely attractive policy, I believe. Firstly, it seems to be a just war. It's in response to 9/11, backed by a broad coalition, endorsed by the United Nations. We seem to be facing a terrorifying threat, a threat of global jihad, regional instability, terrorism unleashed against American cities. Our objectives, in the light of all of this, seem quite reasonable, certainly admirable. We want to stop al-Qaeda, we want to stop the Taliban, stabilize Pakistan, bring development, build a legitimate, effective state. Our methods and approaches seem quite reasonable. If you hear the president speak, he talks a great deal about good governance, economic development, civil society, capacity building. We celebrate our successes in health, in education, in immunization. We may concede that the police isn't going as well as we hoped, but broadly speaking, things seem pretty good. And then after all, there is the immense charisma of General Petraeus, of Ambassador Holbrooke, of our new president. Little wonder, therefore, that there is such a consensus, that NATO generals, Afghan media moguls, NGO workers all concur in the idea that more troops need to be sent to Afghanistan. The problem, I think, though, is that although it wouldn't be right to say that our policy was a lie, I think it's a myth. And although we might not be able to say that our policy is a crime, right? In other words, we can't, as one might have liked to in Iraq, point to corruption in contracting, torture in bases, although that too exists in Afghanistan, but that isn't our dominant narrative, or lies and false justifications. In other words, it's not the kind of thing that Burke could stand up in the Houses of Parliament and attack in the same way as he attacked British colonization in India. It's not a crime, it's a mistake. A mistake so extravagant and costly that it approaches being a crime, but a mistake nonetheless, and probably quite a well-intentioned mistake. It is, in effect, as though, and this is what I suppose one's struggling to get across, as though somebody was saying, I've got $100,000 and I want to have an 8-bedroom house with a swimming pool and a tennis court in central Manhattan. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those objectives. The problem, of course, is that they're not achievable.